two are empty. These are the ones that I put out today that soaked last night. These are the next 2-day-old ones. I think we actually skipped a day, so these might be 3 days old, but you can see the root system is starting in them. This one's just starting to get the green shoots. You can see them right here. And this is the oldest one we've got. We're doing 4 trays at a time. And then I've got the next round soaking in here, which will soak until tomorrow morning, and then I'll put them in the empty trays.
I thought you were supposed to ask me questions.
Okay, what system do you have back here?
This is a fodder system.
Okay, and how is it made currently? How does it work?
Okay, so water starts up at the top, and then it zigzags all the way down into this gutter, and then it goes to the reservoir where the pump then pumps the water back up. And right now, the pump's on a timer that circulates for 30 minutes every hour, 2 hours. Something like that. Every hour for 30 minutes. For some reason, it's off for quite a while in the morning.
Which is fine because I have to take it out in the morning to give it to the cows.
Yeah.
Okay, so the system starts with soaking. Well, first of all, everything that has green on it right now on the shelf is barley. And we're now trying to grow, what's the other stuff? Wheat?
Wheat.
Okay. So it soaks for a day in this pot down here.
Which hasn't sprouted yet.
Yeah, because I just put that on there this morning. And then I put it out in the trays after it's soaked for 24 hours. And
this is a piece of barley. Basically, one seed produces like 4 inches of root system, and then maybe 1 inch or 2 inches of sprout, which is the same for pretty much all these. Some of them is a little bit longer, but the system is supposed to be for every pound of seed is going to be 6 pounds of feed. So that was the only reason why we're doing it. And it's supposed to be healthy. This is supposed to be easier to digest, being all of this versus just
the seed.
One seed that could easily pass through the digestive tract untouched. That's all I know.
So I don't know how long we're actually growing them out now.
Well, it's kind of trial and error. It's just like right now, it's...
Well, so we figured we were going to do it on a 7-day rotation initially, and then we didn't have the drippers on the top working correctly. The initial drippers that we got were 1 gallon per hour drippers, and they clogged up right away and didn't work. So the first batch of seeds that we sprouted were very, very, very slow growing. So I stopped soaking the seeds for a while because we had more fodder than the animals could eat. because the pigs didn't want to eat it, and we tried giving a whole flat to the cows, and the root system was so strong they wouldn't eat it. So I go out in the mornings now and pull it apart and put it in their feed pan and put their grain on top of it. So I think I've cut their grain ration like in half, and I give them one flat in the morning and one at night.
Which the cost savings is pretty high. Once I think we get this dialed in, I think it'll be really good.
I think it'll be awesome next year.
Yeah.
Because they won't need it in the summer.
Correct. I mean, we could do it, but this is basically, you know, the same thing as out there. It's just grown in a different system. But it's like 15 bucks, I think, for a 50-pound bag of barley seed.
The wheat was cheaper. I think it was 12.
The wheat was a little bit cheaper, but it equivalents to like 300 pounds of feed once it's sprouted. Electricity probably isn't a whole lot. It's just a small little pump, utility pump from
a pond pump, I think it was.
Yeah, from Menards.
So how much do you think you have invested in materials, which is kind of tricky for us to figure because we changed the tubing a few times?
Yeah.
So why don't you talk about, I guess, what kind of materials you're using right now?
Okay, so right now we're using the utility pump from Menards, which I think was like 60 bucks. And
here, I can come over there.
It came with a reducer for it, but then I had to reduce it with another piece of tubing that we didn't have, so we had to buy that. And we reduced it onto this 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch tubing.
I think it was called poly drip or something.
Yeah,
right?
some drip tubing. And then the original
ones are upstairs.
The original ones are upstairs.
Well, there's some on there.
Yeah, I mean, like they started with, we were just gonna do the 1/2 inch irrigation pipe, and then you just pump or pop in these little nipples. Beep. And then this was supposed to pump out 1 gallon of water per minute.
Per hour.
Or yeah, per hour. I'm sorry. And then it just didn't work. I made sure that they were inserted right, and they were. So then we just bought these little guys, which are kind of a pain in the butt, because you have to splice every single one in. Where you just in and then out, and then you got an adjustable nozzle basically that shoots out, and you just have them all linked up.
And you have 3 per tray, right?
We did like 3 per tray. I don't think we needed to, but I think it definitely helps out.
Well, we just wanted to make sure, because initially when we had it set up, before we got the irrigation drip system going, we had dome covers on them so they wouldn't dry out, and I was having to spray them multiple times a day.
This is what happens when you get a dry spot. Your seeds just stop. They don't grow.
So those never sprouted. They got roots, but they did not sprout.
They didn't sprout because it's just all dry, where over here it's constantly getting water from the one above. So all these have little holes on one side, or on one end of it.
And then he slanted so that the water would go from here down to the front. That's where the holes are. And then in the next tray, the holes are on the other end. So it's a zigzag pattern. And then it goes back to the gutter, which drains into the tub, and then goes back up to the top. I thought you wanted them more to the back so that they didn't sprout through the holes.
Well, I just want them so it's not all bubbled up in the center. But that was
User error.
A water error here. I just use the a really small drill bit because we weren't sure. Cause I don't even think we had the seeds when we started it, but these seeds are pretty small, and I didn't want to do a hole too big.
And the wheat is smaller than the barley is even.
Yeah, this wheat is really small.
But they do swell as they grow.
So, but yeah, so that's pretty much the system. It's not a perfect system.
And I think we started it a little bit late too.
Yeah.
But it's getting them through because our grass still is not growing.
Yeah, for like another month probably. But it's amazing on a consistent water flow for, well, this is like, what, almost a week old now. Right, 226, what is today, 3/8?
Yeah.
So it's over a week old, but this was like the other stuff before that we fed last week.
Well, and so we also had a problem too because we were measuring by weight, and then we took our scale. Working for a little while, and Greg guessed, and so he guessed much heavier amounts of the seed than I was doing the first time. And so we had a batch that we had to split into 8 trays, and they were still very, very full trays. So that's another reason why I stopped soaking the seeds. So we have, what, 8 empty trays right now?
Yeah, 2, 4,
well, plus
6,
those over there, but I wasn't going to do those because we didn't have drippers on that side.
Yeah,
so I'll take the seeds that are soaking out tomorrow morning after I do chores. This is what they look like when they're soaking.
I think it did do better with a little bit of heat on them, only because it was so cold out here and it's right next to the window,
but we wanted the window for sunlight.
Yeah. So we're just gonna go with it and see what happens. I mean, it's working, it's just not dialed in. So, but it'll get there. I think, I hope. I mean, pretty amazing when you can feed, you know, one seed and get all the nutrients from the roots and blade of whatever barley. Be interesting to see if the cows and pigs like this wheat better than the barley. I don't know. I mean,
well, I threw a pan of it out to the pigs, and that's so weird.
Tastes good.
And they did not, they like played with it basically. They didn't really eat it. But I'm gonna try maybe breaking it up like I did for the cows. And if I put their feed on top of it, then they eat it. But if I just put
something on it, I know a lot of people do their protein or their not protein.
I heard somebody
mineral. I think they put on it, but
well, I heard somebody say that they add a small amount of field peas to it.
Yeah, that was
for flavor.
Yeah, which might help.
All right. Thank you for explaining.